Hey guys, Keith Cardy with Dirty Deeds Industries, and we're here this beautiful morning with our TRD Platinum Toyota Tundra 22-23 hybrid Tundra, and we're going to go ahead and install a BM Mufflers bolt-on exhaust system. Come on over and let's take a look. Have a look at the truck real quick. Beautiful truck. It's got the TRD Pro wheels, the TRD Pro skid plate, everything platinum, the TRD Pro tailpipe. All blacked out in just all the right spot. All right guys, for this system to be installed, we're gonna go ahead and use a 14 mil socket. That takes off all the old hardware. 17 mil socket to put on some of the new hardware. We've got 17 mil, 14 mil open and wrench. We do not provide a gasket for between our system. We prefer to use a little bit of RTV. Gaskets will tend to blow out, and if you ever take it apart, you've got to find a new one. In this case, you never have to look for or buy a gasket. The system also comes with bolts to bolt the section together. Since this is a full bolt-on, there's no cutting required. You just literally unbolt the old one and bolt on the new one. And let's get an overview of the whole system here. Pretty awesome system. The sound is really amazing. It's not the raspy sound that a lot of the V6 pickup trucks tend to have these days. It's just a nice, clean, deep sound. All right, guys, we're underneath the bottom of this 22 plus Toyota Tundra Platinum hybrid. And first step to installing our new BM Mufflers bolt-on exhaust system is to spray any of the bolts and the hangers with WD-40. Then I like to go ahead and just get the initial pop on the hangers done. You can hear that pop. You want to still leave the hanger hooked up, but you want to pop it free because that's the hardest part. Once you get the bolts undone, it still needs to hold, but let them pop loose real quick. All right, guys, so now that all the WD-40 has been sprayed on all the bolts and the hangers, we're gonna go ahead and break everything loose. We always use a ratchet with a socket on it. This is a 14 millimeter. These are little spring bolts here. Go ahead, and that's the driver's side. We'll go ahead and on over here on the passenger side. And then we'll head back here to the very back of the system. From there, we're gonna go ahead and grab, I always use a bunch of little short extensions all put together so we can have some flexibility. The reason we do that is so we can use an impact, which is much quicker. We go above the transmission cross member on the driver's side, and the bolts just come right out. And then we're gonna go ahead and get rid of our extensions because they will not work on the passenger side. And you just barely have the room to stick an impact in here. That's fine, we can leave that there. Come on to the back. We take the back nuts off. And pull the tailpipe off. We're going to want to save that gasket for later. And then we can pull these hangers off. This exhaust is very tight to get out of the transmission crossover is. Does come out. actually a good comparison, the stock exhaust compared to the exhaust that we build. We're actually going to provide the Y pipe up to this location here and the little flex fitting right here. While we do have a fixture for that, that's not going to be included in this kit because you just don't need it. This size actually just happens to be the exact size that needs to be. So we're sticking with the same sizing as stock. The main idea is to get rid of this ultra restrictive muffler. Our stock muffler has massive amounts of chambers. You can see all the heat that builds up inside of this muffler due to the big blocks in the muffler. This truck's not that old. It's only about 6 months old, and it's already starting to even rust away at the 304 stainless because of all that heat. Anytime you get a bunch of heat like that, you can tell that's just due to the restriction. Restriction is always bad, especially in a turbocharged engine. With our setup, I don't know if you can get that footage there all the way through, but it is literally a straight through design. Perforated core, much like a gun silencer. It'll absorb the sound without any restriction. All right, guys, so the next step here is we're gonna take the adapter off that Toyota uses. The main reason they even put this on here is because it's kind of tight on the hybrid models. The transmission goes back quite a bit further because of the electric motor there. So it makes it tight to go between the transmission and the gas tank. It does come out, but you saw I struggled just a little bit. It's a little easier to remove the bolts off of the flex fitting that they put in the front here than it is here inside of the truck. So I went ahead and just went through that struggle, and then we're gonna transfer this part of the stock exhaust onto our exhaust. We will still leave a nipple hanging out off of the flange for the stock gasket to actually go on, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So you literally just take it apart, take the stock gasket right off, and then put it right back onto the new Y pipe. And this is just literally a stock Y pipe that we built a fixture around. It's the prototype system. We have a good friend of ours gracious enough to run this on his truck. On the fabricated models that we make, we will provide the nipple sticking out for the stock gasket to hold onto, so that it's much easier to put together in your own garage at your house. But you just simply take it right off of the old Y pipe, put it right onto the new Y pipe, and the bolt holes and the bolts line everything together. The nipple holds the gasket in place, and it's just a super easy transfer to make right on the ground next to your truck in the driveway. Part about this is because of the location of the Y pipe and how the truck is built, there's nothing that's going to hold this part up. There's no hangers that hold it up, and then these flanges are more of a ball and socket type of flange. So this is just going to kind of hang in the truck until we get the rest of the catback installed. But it's not an issue to just go ahead and put it up in place. And we're just going to reuse the factory bolts and springs in this particular install. On our normal production install that we're going to be doing after this, we'll be providing new bolts because our flanges are just a little bit different. So the bolts that we provide for this kit are actually going to use a 17 millimeter head. In this case, we've got the 14 mil because of the stock bolt still. But as you can see, we've got the impact up over the transmission cross member, and the stock bolt is tightened down kind of as tight as you can make it. With the production system, it's going to be easier to just loosely put in the bolt and let the back of the system hang just like this is here. But you wouldn't tighten up the bolts ahead of time because you want to still have the flexibility. When we Our flange design actually is a tighter design that will never flex and come loose. But you would want to leave it loose until you get the catback in, because the catback actually, as you can see right here, the hangers are in the catback section, not in the Y-pipe section. So this part would just kind of hang down until you get the catback in, which we'll get to that step next. But I'm going to go ahead and tighten down these bolts real quick. So we went ahead and left these hangers on the catback, as you saw when we popped them loose off the truck. So I went ahead and took them off the front of the catback, take the rear one off. We're gonna go ahead and put these back in the truck. With those in the truck, we've got the catback oriented underneath the truck the way that it's going to hang in the truck. So we'll go ahead and do the one hanger in the back and the two hangers up in the front. We're going to go ahead and put this up over our shoulder. You'd probably have this on your stomach or something if you was laying under the truck in your driveway. Not too bad though. And just go ahead and hang it into the rear hanger first. And then that gives you something holding the back of it at least. And then you just worry about the front from there. And so it's going to hang kind of awkward because it's not, equal weight and everything else, and it's just the rubber hangers holding it for now. But that gets the weight held up underneath the truck. And then we're going to come back and we'll go ahead and I'll show you some things on how to set up the Y pipe, and then we'll put the tailpipe on and we're all done. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put some high temp orange RTV on the connection. We just want to do a pretty thin, small bead all the way around. And then we'll go ahead and do the other side. And like I said previously in the video, we provide new bolts to hold everything together. And these bolts fit in the hole just right. So that is what aligns the holes. And with no gaskets, it's super simple. And if you ever have to take this joint apart again for whatever reason, you're not trying to track down a gasket, you just use the RTV again. Grab a 17 mil open end. And with these, it's just about as tight as the impact can make it, since there's no gasket to worry about. And we do actually, you can see the design here, we weld a nipple to the flange on both sides, and then we take that nipple and use it as a handle on the belt sander. So the two flange faces are pretty perfectly smooth. The RTV is just kind of like a backup insurance, I guess you could call it. You don't really need any kind of a gasket there, but we just use a little bit of that RTV just to make sure that's perfectly sealed. Again, just about as tight as you can make it, and it'll never back off or rattle loose or anything like that. You can see the exhaust is hanging a lot more straight, similar to how it did when it was with the factory muffler, because now the Y pipe kind of holds it in place where it needs to be. Okay guys, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the a little bit of RTV on the stock gasket. It's not for sealing purposes because we're still gonna reuse the stock tailpipe. In this case, this amazing platinum actually has a TRD tailpipe on it, but the flange connection between the TRD tailpipe and the otherwise stock tailpipe is still the same. But we're gonna use this RTV here just to kind of hold the gasket in place so that when we put it onto our system, it is a little easier there. The bolts that we provide at the back of our system is the same as the bolts in the middle of our system. They're going to actually center the tailpipe to the system itself. So we're just going to use our 17 mil on our impact. About as tight as you can make it. Make sure there's actually a hanger on the stock tailpipe. Kind of a rare thing. Toyota never really does that, but they actually have a hanger on the tailpipe, a hanger on the Catback, and then another hanger on the tailpipe in the very back over here. So it's a pretty stout design. It's almost like they were intending for people to go off-roading, which is pretty amazing. Go ahead and get an overview of the system that we just installed, starting from the front and working our way to the back. It's a good OEM fit and finish. Obviously, we're using an OEM Y-pipe in this situation. When we replicate our Y-pipe, we're going to be using 304 stainless steel, all mandrel bent, same diameters as stock. Similar design. Y-pipe is stock, a little freer flowing than stock. And then right back into the stock tailpipe. The stock tailpipe is extremely important. The restriction is the stock muffler, not the tailpipe, not the piping diameter. The stock muffler is where Toyota's hands were tied. They had to make that restrictive. In this situation, we got rid of that restriction. We kept the stock diameter tubing. That keeps the scavenging right in the power band where Toyota intended for it to be, with their control of their turbochargers, their timing, the VVTi, all of the scavenging of the engine remains in the stock power band, so everything works together. Instead of trying to re-engineer on a guess pipe size, we work with Toyota and we replace the part where their hands were tied, which is the stock restrictive style muffler. Thanks for watching our video. Please like and comment below. And please share our videos with as many people as you possibly can. This is a small family-run business. We appreciate any help. And these are lifetime warranties, so if there's any issues or questions or anything else, you can always reach me, 760-877-4234. Thanks a lot.